everyone, it's Jack from Cultaholic.com, back again with another very interesting news update. We have some news on some star ratings, we have some news on a potential Indy signing by WWE, and we have some news on an injury as well. Three big categories of news. Obviously the last one's quite unfortunate. We never like to see any wrestler get injured, but hopefully they'll get better soon. We'll talk about that in a second, but first of all, let's concentrate on those lovely Dave Meltzer snowflakes. So yes, Meltzer saw fit to award 3 5-star match ratings this week in his edition of The Observer, although one of the matches actually took place last week. In fact, 2 of the matches took place last week, one last weekend and one last midweek, although the match itself was actually taped a little bit before that even. I'll explain, I'll break it down. Basically, 2 New Japan matches in the G1 Climax received those 5-star ratings, both featuring Kenny Omega. His match with Tetsuya Naito was branded one of the best G1 matches of all time by Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, and yeah, he followed that up in the newsletter with a 5-star rating. He also gave 5 stars to Kenny Omega's match with Hiroki Goto, a match that I personally thought was very good, but I was surprised to see that one also given 5 stars. I wasn't so surprised to see the Omega Naito match given 5 stars because it was just excellent. But I think the most newsworthy 5-star rating is the third one, and that went to a match on not an NXT TakeOver show, but just on a weekly episodic edition of NXT between Moustache Mountain and the Undisputed Era. This was of course the match where Moustache Mountain dropped the titles back to O'Reilly and Strong, having defeated them for it in the UK. Then obviously on the next set of the NXT tapings, this match took place, and it featured a controversial ending where Tyler Bate threw in the towel because Trent Seven refused to submit to Kyle O'Reilly's submission. So it was an interesting match, one which has sowed the seeds of a potential turn, but it was also one of the best television matches, not like a special pay-per-view or anything, that Meltzer can recall seeing, he says, in quite a long time, and he also saw fit to give that match a big 5 stars. He pointed out that while the finish the throw in the towel finish might not always get across well with US audiences particularly, or with Western audiences, this time it did because the storytelling was just so strong. Trent Seven as the valiant babyface trying not to, submit to greater odds. Tyler Bate really caring for his partner, and yeah, just a lot of great villainy and heel work by the Undisputed Era as well, who for my money are probably the best stable of smarmy heels in the business today. So all very exciting stuff there. Now let's move along to more exciting news concerning a major star in the independent wrestling world and the changing circumstances, allegedly, about his position in the eyes of WWE and whether they will sign him in the near future. That man is Matt Riddle, a man who... how do I word this without... So basically, Matt Riddle was axed from the UFC despite being on an undefeated run of fights because of his personal lifestyle choices. He loved to smoke a bit of the marijuana. And that, in the eyes of many, has stopped WWE from really approaching Matt Riddle in any sort of serious fashion with a view to signing him. But I think maybe their view could have changed. There's a few clues that Meltzer put together in The Observer, and then that got sort of debated on Reddit. So I'm going to just give you a whole rundown of the situation so far. So first of all, Riddle had to pull out of 2, I believe, OTT shows in Ireland, an excellent Irish wrestling promotion. Check them out if you want to. But he's had to pull out of those shows, and it just so happens to be on SummerSlam weekend. Now, that was in The Observer. On Reddit, someone pointed out, you know what? Riddle may have pulled out. That doesn't mean he's going to run off and immediately sign with WWE. He's actually wrestling on a Joey Janela show that weekend. But then someone else has pointed out, look, the real story here is that Riddle is in town. He's in New York on SummerSlam weekend. He's there when TakeOver's going to be, when SummerSlam's going to be. And even though it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to get involved with TakeOver or appear in the crowd or anything like that, it does mean that he could be meeting with WWE, and it could mean that they have changed their attitude towards him and they may be looking to sign him. After all, over the past year or 2, he really has established himself as one of the finest independent wrestlers in the world. It was also pointed out on Reddit that this also all coincides with Riddle's WWN contract coming to an end, which would mean, he'd have to re-sign to continue wrestling for Evolve and other WWN shows, and if he didn't, where else would he go? WWE. That's what I'm implying. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what I'm strongly implying. And finally, sad news of an injury to a wrestler on Impact's Slammiversary card. That man is Rich Swann, who only just entered the company, having, tried to step away from the controversy of his recent past. He was booked for a fatal 4-way match with Johnny Impact, Taiji Ishimori, and Phoenix from Lucha Underground. They were all going to have a 4-way match at Slammiversary, but now it looks as though Rich Swann might not be able to wrestle. He reportedly suffered a bad concussion at the MLW show last night and was taken to hospital. Hopefully he is okay, and we wish him all the best and all the rest of it. But it also begs the question, will Impact... Well, first of all, will he be able to wrestle or not? Secondly, if he can't wrestle, will they get someone else in, or will they just make it a triple threat, a three-way dance, if you will? So thank you very much for tuning in. That's been all the news from today. I've been Jack from Cultaholic.com. You can follow me on Twitter if you want, at Jack the Jobber. You can follow all of us at Cultaholic. Check out our Patreon as well if you wish, patreon.com/Cultaholic. And never forget, of course, to join us.